Hi class, so we are on to chapter 10 with motivation. Well, we're covering motivation. The chapter also covers a few other things like emotion, hunger, sexuality, things like that, but we're just going to focus on motivation for this week. So I have a PDF posted in the Canvas modules for you, showing you all the different theories of motivation. The book covers some of these. Some of these are also going to be things that we are reviewing and new concepts and things that we've already covered. So I'm just going to be going through some of these major theories of motivation. When we talk about motivation, it's the start of an activity that where you're meeting a physical or psychological need. When we think about motivation, it's how are you starting something, what's directing you to doing it, what's continuing you to do it. So those are different factors. When we think about motivation, we can break it down into two different categories. We can break it down to intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation connects to influences outside of you, impacting you to do something or to not do something. And so this could be that you're getting compensation if you fill out the survey. This could be if you don't do this, you'll get punished, you'll get a fine. This could be some cases where you get a reward for doing something. So this connects to operant conditioning, which is what we had learned about. We talked about behavioral theories and learning theories. And so extrinsic motivation is you're doing something and your influences are from the outside. When you're doing something because you love it or you want to do it, that we call that intrinsic motivation. So that motivation is coming from within. When we talk about intrinsic motivation, we can connect to three principles of self-determination theory. So self-determination theory says that you can motivate yourself to do things. You need autonomy, you need mastery, and you need purpose. So when coming up to be motivated, if you're trying to motivate someone to have intrinsic motivation, drive within, they need to have some sort of say to feel the power and independence, that sense of autonomy that they can do that. They need to feel like this is something that they're able to do, so that's the sense of mastery. And then they need to have like a reason for doing that, a purpose. Maybe it's a greater good. All right, so oftentimes when we think about what motivates us, you can divide it into those two basic groups. When we think about motivation or our motives, we can also divide them into two different categories. Biological motives, these are things that connect to our limbic system. When we're hungry, when we're thirsty, when we're horny, when we're feeling cold, when we're feeling tired, when we feel like we have to go to the bathroom, when we feel like we want to punch something, when we're angry, when we feel like we just need some activity, we need to take a walk. Those are all things that are more biological motives. We also have social motives. So social motives are things that are connecting to us being with individuals. Maybe I always want to be right and I want to dominate the conversation. Maybe I enjoy playing and interacting and having fun with individuals. So these are different types of social motives. I'm going to talk about a motivational theory that's connected to biological drives or motives, and that's the drive reduction theory. This basically is just explaining what happens when we have one of those biological drives, be it excretory, I need to pee, I need to poo, be it I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, etc. So what happens is you realize you have a need. I have a need to go to the bathroom. I'm on a long road trip and I realize I need to go to the bathroom. That I'm going to get feedback from my body saying your bladder is full, you need to go to the bathroom. That's going to influence and motivate me to find a good exit, find the next exit. When is the next exit? So that's going to motivate me to act. I then will get to excrete and go to the bathroom and I'll feel better and I'll be at that state of homeostasis. So homeostasis is when you're not too thirsty, you're not too cold, you're not too hungry, you're feeling satisfied. That is homeostasis. And then eventually I will have to go to the bathroom again, and then I'll get into that unbalanced state. Then my brain will tell me you need to go to the bathroom, etc. So that's a biological drive theory. So now we'll switch to social motives. When we think about social motives, there's going to be a lot of individual differences. So you might have some people who are really achievement oriented. You might have some people who are really nurturing or really feel like they need to be around others and have that kind of affiliation. So all of these different motives, again, we're going to see individual differences, personality differences. When we think about social motives, again, there's different social motives out there, and there's individual differences if someone's on high play versus high nurturance versus high dominant versus high achieving. And all of those things are influenced by our environment, messages our family gives us, messages from society, or messages from culture. And so, again, if you're coming from more of a collectivistic culture, we might have a more of a social motive towards autonomy and independence than coming from a collectivistic culture. And you're going to learn more about that when we get to the social psych chapter. When we're going through and talking about learning or motivation theories, a learning approach, coming back to when we were talking about behavioralism and connecting back to extrinsic motivation from the outside, is incentive theories. And incentive theories is anytime you're giving a reward or an incentive for individuals to do something. So you do this, you get points. Well, if you're not intrinsically motivated, I don't really want to write that paper, but I am motivated by that grade or those points, and so I will complete the paper. Then you're writing that paper for extrinsic motivations. So incentives, anytime you do incentives, it is part of that extrinsic motivation and connecting to our behavioral theories, connecting back to operant conditioning. When we talk about thinking about motivations, you can be motivated to do something, and that's approach. You can also be motivated to not do something, to stay away from something, and that's avoidance. Both of those are motives. I can have a motive to approach, or I can have a motive to avoid. So again, those are things to think about when thinking about why someone isn't doing something. They have an avoidance motive. If you're thinking about, well, how can I get the person to do something, then you would think about it in the context of approach. When thinking about motivational theories, I'm going to talk a little bit now about a cognitive approach. So a cognitive approach, I just explained the approach orientation and the approach avoidance, and so that's one layer of it. That's the sidebar of the box. And then you'll also see at the top there's mastery goals and performance goals. Mastery goals is an individual is doing it because they enjoy it. This is connected to intrinsic motivation. They're doing something because they want to. They have an intrinsic drive. Or they're not doing something because they realize they don't feel like they're going to be able to complete the task or master the task. And since they don't have that feeling of, ooh, I feel like I'm not so sure about this, and then it would be an avoidance mastery goal. We also have performance goals. Performance goals are based on my appearance of success or failure or approaching or avoidant based on how others are going to see me. And so that comes back to like a grade in a class, or how others might see you in the classroom. That would be related to a performance goal. So someone who has a mastery approach is going to say, I've got this, I know this material, I enjoy this material, and I'm going to succeed in this class. Somebody who has an approach performance is, well, I'm going to take this class because I'm going to get an A, and people are going to see how smart I am. So again, it's based on that kind of performance of how they're doing and how others are seeing them. Avoidance mastery is this individual. I'm not going to take that math class. I'm feeling a little iffy on math. I haven't had math in 10 years, and I don't need calculus for the career I'm going into. So I'm going to have a case of mastery avoidance to taking calculus. I could also have a performance avoidance for taking calculus. And so in this case, oh, I don't want to appear stupid. I don't want to appear I don't know math. I don't want to appear that math is not a strong, calculus is not a strong suit for me. And so again, my reasonings for avoidance is based on how others might see me. I'd be worried about failing, getting a bad grade, not looking smart in front of my professors or my friends. That would be performance-based. So again, this is a way to think about how are people orientating themselves with motivational factors. Another aspect, thinking about cognitively and understanding others, is locus of control. Locus of control is your understanding of are there things that you can control, and that's internal. So I can work really hard, I can study more, I can get a study plan together so that I can improve my grade, versus an external locus of control. Well, the school's shut down now, so I can't go and seek tutoring services. That would be an aspect of external locus of control. So when we think about success and failures, we can think about, well, why did I succeed and why did I fail? And you can break it down into those 4 different boxes based on, is it internal or external? And then how stable is that success or failure? So stable means I'm always doing well or I'm always failing. Unstable would be a case where, oh, I just happen to fail or I just happen to succeed. So in cases where individuals constantly succeed, and again, they're seeing their success out of their own drive, their own hard work, their own work ethic, they're having high self-esteem and high efficacy. So that S is for success with esteem and efficacy. If I keep failing all the time and I'm seeing the failure as me, it's me that's I'm the reason I'm not I'm not doing well at my job, and I constantly seem to not do well at my job, that can lead towards depression. So that's that F equals depression. If I have a lot of external things going on that are preventing me from succeeding, and it's constantly happening, that can lead me for that failure just to feel frustrated, totally frustrated. I just keep trying and I keep hitting these roadblocks. And then that last box, when I see success, but it doesn't come very often, oftentimes I'm going to attribute my success to others. Oh, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time to get that promotion or to get that job. So I'm not seeing it as my hard work, I'm seeing it as just something that happened like luck. If every once in a while I fail, oftentimes that can leave me with feeling with hope and optimism. And so here I'm seeing that, okay, well, I didn't do so well here, but I had this external thing going on that was independent of what I was able to do or I was able to accomplish. So some more considerations. When we think about motivation in the big picture, I will tell you, you should always try to get people to be intrinsically motivated than extrinsically motivated. Extrinsic motivations only last for so long. And in fact, oftentimes if people start putting incentives or rewards on things that people just love doing because they love it, it can sometimes kill their joy, kill their love of those things. So if you do see a kid who's really interested in something, don't go attaching rewards to it. Accept they're intrinsically driven, they've got that motivation, and go with that and encourage that for them to flourish. Once you start adding those extrinsic motives, those incentives, those rewards, those punishment, it's going to kill their inner joy. Oh, I just got a low battery. Get through this. Again, your book talks about some sweet spots with task difficulty and arousal for you getting work done. I thought that was interesting. Go ahead and look at that for a minute. I also want to tell you it's really important to consider limbic system. Anytime your emotions override your rationalization, that's going to make it harder for you to be motivated. That's going to make it harder for you to have willpower. I do encourage you to watch the willpower video that I posted in the materials. If your willpower fails, oftentimes that's connected to things that are going on in the limbic system with the amygdala and not feeling in a safe environment. That's going to impact motivation. That's going to impact willpower. That's going to impact your prefrontal cortex and your willingness to work. Last motivational theory, which we've talked about throughout the semester, is Maslow's theory. So Maslow's theory is another theory of motivation, looking at where they are in their needs and how can we get them to reach their self-actualization, their full potential. So definitely read up again with Maslow's theory. Also, in closing, again, we connected with mindset, with intelligence. Mindset is also connected with motivation. So connect with that. Again, growth mindset helps us get things going and get things done. And again,